If you ever see a UPS truck parked alone on a dirt road deep in the Louisiana swamps, don't go near it. Don't call out. Don't check inside. Just turn around and run. We deliver more than packages out here. Sometimes we deliver warnings. Sometimes we don't come back at all. There are 8 rules every swamp runner must follow. Break even one, and the swamp takes you. Forever did I used to laugh at the rules. Now I hear something scratching at my back door every night. And I haven't delivered a package in weeks. They gave me a brown uniform, a busted hand scanner, and a route number, Route 47B, along with a thin laminated sheet labeled in red Sharpie. Swamp rules. Do not lose this. It was my first week with UPS. I was broke, sleeping in the back of my cousin's trailer outside Baton Rouge, and desperate enough to take any job. I thought I'd be hauling Amazon boxes and leaving thank you notes. Instead, I found myself posted to the most isolated damn delivery zone in Louisiana. Deep swamplands, dirt trails half-eaten by the muck, places with names you won't find on Google Maps. The guy who gave me the job was named Clem. Old, rail-thin, with a cigarette always stuck to his lip and eyes that hadn't known sleep in years. He barely looked up from the paperwork when I came in for orientation, just grunted, handed me keys to an old brown delivery truck, and slid over that rule sheet like it was an afterthought. Don't matter if you're new or not, he said. You're going into the deep. We all do. I unfolded the sheet right there in the dusty UPS depot and read what I still remember word for word. Receipt the 8 rules for Route 47B. Swampland Survival Protocol, start deliveries after sunset. Never before. Do not deliver to house 1214 on Cypress Way. That house doesn't exist, even if it looks like it does. If you see headlights behind you, don't pull over. They aren't human. Ignore any voice that calls your name from the trees, especially if it sounds like someone you love. Never enter the water, not even ankle deep. If your truck stalls at 3:33 a.m., lock the doors and don't look out the windows. Deliver all packages, even the ones that bleed. Return undelivered parcels before dawn. Don't accept packages from anyone not on your manifest. They may try to trade, decline, or die. I laughed when I read it. I really did. I shouldn't have. The first night the sun was setting like a blood smear across the sky when I turned onto the dirt road leading into the swamp. The truck creaked with every bump, engine groaning as if it knew better than I did what lay ahead. Trees loomed like skeletons, draped in Spanish moss. Branches twisted like crooked fingers pointing towards something ancient. I checked the manifest. 8 deliveries. Simple enough. The first few houses were dilapidated wooden shacks, on stilts, lit by flickering lanterns or not at all. I'd knock, drop the box, get a grunt or a nod, and hurry back to the truck. No small talk, no eye contact, just silence and the sounds of frogs, insects, and something else I couldn't place. Like breathing, but distant. WET.BY the third house, I noticed something. Each recipient had something off about them. One old woman had eyes entirely clouded over white, but she greeted me like she could see just fine. Another man had a mouth too wide for his face, lips stitched at the corners, but still managing a grotesque smile. At the 5th stop, I made the mistake of stepping off the wooden walk to knock on a door. My foot sank. Not far, just ankle deep, and that's when I heard it. A whisper. Low. Hissing. You shouldn't have done that. I jerked my foot out and scrambled back to the truck. The water clung to my skin, black and oily, almost pulsing. I wiped it off, trying to pretend I imagined. The voice. I told myself it was wind, frogs, anything. But the whisper came again. You broke the 5th rule. The 3:33 stall. By now I was sweating bullets, the kind that feel cold even though it's muggy as hell. I was 2 stops from finishing. I kept glancing at the clock. 3:21 a.m. Then, just as the road dipped low into a thicker patch of trees, the truck coughed, stuttered, died. The dash lights blinked. The air inside dropped 10 degrees. I turned the key. Nothing. The clock blinked. 3:33 My heart sank. I remembered Rule 6. If your truck stalls at 3:33 a.m., lock the doors and don't look out the windows. I slammed the locks, sat still, and waited. The trees outside shifted. Or maybe something moved between them. My breath fogged up the window. I dared not wipe it clear. Then came the sound of something dragging across the side of the truck. A wet, slithering scratch. It went from the back wheel to the driver's door. I pressed my back against the opposite side, heart jackhammering. Knock, knock, knock. It tapped 3 times, soft, polite, right beside my head. And then it whispered my name, Tyler. But it wasn't my voice. It was my mother's. The parcel that bled. It got the engine restarted by 4 a.m. after an hour of silence and frozen terror. Somehow, the truck clicked back to life. No explanation. The 7th package on the manifest was small, shoebox-sized. The cardboard was damp and warm, and something inside shifted when I tilted it. The address? It was for 1214 Cypress Way. I froze. Rule #2. That house doesn't exist, I muttered, even if it looks like it does. But there it was. A wooden cabin, 2 stories tall, porch light glowing. Brand new, pristine, too clean for this swamp. I took the box, heart thundering, and stepped out. A woman opened the door before I could knock. She looked like my grandmother, long dead. Same dress, same smile. "You're late, sugar," she said. "He's been waiting." I turned and ran, dropped the box, got in the truck. Yes, I pulled away. I saw her in the mirror, face melting, stretching like wax, bones cracking out of place. The box lay on the steps, now oozing red from the corners. Back at the depot, I returned before sunrise. Clem stood waiting, holding a clipboard. "You left a box undelivered," he said without looking up. "It was for 1214 Cypress Way." I yelled, "That place isn't real." He sighed, lit a cigarette. "It's real enough to take you," he said. "You're lucky you ran." Then he scratched something off the manifest, handed me a fresh sheet of rules, this time with an additional 1 handwritten in at the bottom. 9. If you survive the first night, you belong to the route now. There's no quitting, only disappearing. The morning after my first delivery route through the swamps of Louisiana, I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I didn't even take off my UPS uniform. I just sat on my cousin's couch, eyes locked on the doorway, waiting for something to come in. Something that had followed me. I could still hear the knock on the truck door. Tap, tap, tap. I could still hear my mother's voice calling my name. Even though she'd been buried 6 years ago in Michigan soil, that swamp knew me now. And worse, it wanted me back. The swamp doesn't let go. Clem didn't call me that morning. He didn't need to. At exactly 6:06 p.m., my phone buzzed with one text. "Clock in. Manifest's ready. Truck 47. I told myself I wouldn't go back, that no paycheck was worth this. But by 6:45, I was back in that warehouse, staring at the same busted truck and picking up a new manifest. I didn't even know how I got there. It was like something pulled me. The new sheet had 12 deliveries this time. The last one had a handwritten note next to the address. "Package must be signed for. Do not speak to the recipient." Clem was waiting near the loading dock. He didn't say anything, but he tossed me a pack of rock salt and a small mirror wrapped in cloth. "Keep those on you tonight," he muttered. "Swamp's testing you now." First night was the intro. Seconds, the price. "What's the salt for?" I asked, voice cracking. He flicked ash onto the concrete. "To keep what ain't supposed to cross your path from crossing it. Put a line of salt behind the truck tires at every stop. Don't skip it." "And the mirror?" "To see the real faces of the ones who pretend to be human. But don't use it too long. You stare into the swamp's truth too long." He just shook his head. "You'll go blind on the inside." Delivery number 3. The Screamer Shack. The first 2 stops were unsettling but quiet. Just long driveways, silent hands reaching from screen doors to collect packages. I started to think maybe it was all in my head, that maybe I'd overreacted. Then came delivery #3. The house was barely there. A shack, more like half sunken into the mud, leaning sideways like it wanted to fall but couldn't die. No porch, just a doorway with no door. The package was small, addressed to Eloise Marin. When I stepped toward the shack, the frogs went silent. I poured a line of rock salt behind the truck like Clem said, then walked up to the shack with the box clutched tight. I knocked once gently. The response, a woman screamed, but not from inside. It was like she was in my head. Loud, shrill, like her soul had been set on fire. I dropped the package on the rotting steps and sprinted back to the truck. When I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw her for just a second, a gaunt woman standing in the doorway, face smooth as porcelain, no mouth, but still screaming. Somehow, loud enough to rattle the rear windows. And then the shack was empty again, like she had never been there at all. Rule number 8. The trade delivery number 7 was deep in the swamp. The road disappeared halfway there. I had to walk. The trees leaned in too tight, branches brushing my shoulders. I felt washed with every step. The house I arrived at wasn't abandoned, but it looked wrong. Like someone had taken a picture of a house and tried to rebuild it from memory. The proportions were off. The front door was too narrow. The windows all faced the wrong direction. A man waited at the steps. Tall, dressed in black, wearing a UPS cap. But the logo was upside down. That he didn't speak, he simply held out a box. Not on my manifest. I remembered rule number 8. Don't accept packages from anyone not on your manifest. They may try to trade, decline, or die. He held the box closer. It was wrapped in human skin. When I didn't take it, he grinned. His mouth opened wide, too wide, and hundreds of tiny, needle-sharp teeth glistened inside. No trade, he asked, voice gurgling like swamp water. No trade, I said. He nodded. Slowly, stepped back, and melted into the house like fog. Literally, his body became mist and passed through the wall. I dropped the package meant for the actual resident and left. Fast. Delivery number 12. The silent girl. The last delivery was to a trailer, parked on a dry patch of land surrounded by cypress trees. No lights, no path, just a box addressed to Missy Crane. Age, 9. I knocked, and a little girl opened the door. She had wide eyes, red dress, bare feet. Looked normal. Too normal. I held out the box. She stared. Then I remembered the handwritten note. Do not speak to the recipient. She reached for the package. Then she smiled and said, "You don't remember me, do you?" I froze. The voice wasn't a little girl's. It was mine. My exact voice. The way I sounded on old home videos. She opened her mouth again, and I swear to God, I saw a rows of teeth, each one shaped like a delivery barcode scanner. I threw the box into the trailer, slammed the truck door shut, and peeled out of there. Salt trail be damned. Back at the depot, again, Clem didn't even look up when I came back. Just nodded toward a new clipboard on the table with my name on it. But this time, instead of a manifest, it had a single line handwritten in red ink. You've completed night 2. There's no going back now. See you tomorrow, Tyler. And then, I saw my own signature at the bottom. Even though I never signed it. Cousin disappeared. I came home that night to an empty trailer. Cousin was gone. So were his clothes, his phone, his pictures, like he had never lived there. But in the living room, sitting on the coffee table, was a small brown box. UPS label. My name. I didn't touch it. Not yet. It's still sitting there. Sometimes it leaks. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it calls me to open it. The box is still sitting on my cousin's coffee table. Brown, damp at the corners. UPS labeled with my name, Tyler Grant, typed in big, bold letters. But I never ordered anything. And I sure as hell didn't deliver it to myself. It hasn't moved. But somehow it gets closer. I'll go to the bathroom and come back. And it'll be an inch nearer to the edge. Like it's inching toward me. And last night, it whispered, "You're late." The unboxing, I put it off for 3 days. I even tried to leave the trailer, but something was off about the world outside. Like it was glitching. The highway looped. The gas station cashier had no face. And when I checked the GPS, it showed my exact location as UPS Route 47B. Do not exit. I came back to the trailer. Defeated, hungry, scared, and I opened the box. Inside was a mirror, same as the one Clem gave me, but this one was old, ancient, blackened edges, filthy glass, carved in Latin on the handle, Noli Respicere, Noli Credere, do not look, do not believe, and beneath the mirror was a set of bones. Small, human, wrapped in UPS tracking labels soaked in something red. There was also a note. Rule number 9. When you open a box meant for you, the swamp opens you. The trailer lights went out, and the mirror lit up. The man in the mud, I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up, sweating in my uniform, somehow back in the UPS truck. The mirror was beside me on the passenger seat, and my manifest was stapled to the dash, but the swamp wasn't the same. Everything looked rotten. The trees dripped black sap. The moss hung like wet skin. There were bones nailed to trees, femur bones, spines, skulls missing jaws. My first stop was unmarked. Just an X on the map. In red. I followed the coordinates and found A wooden post sticking out of the mud with a package nailed to it. Blood seeped out from the corners, and someone, was crawling out of the swamp behind it, that half-naked, coated in sludge, arms way too long, UPS uniform still clinging to his broken body. His face was shredded open, but his name tag? J. Ramsey, Route 47B, he croaked through a shredded windpipe. Don't break the trade, Tyler, they want your debt. And then something dragged him back under. Fast, hard, like a hook through his chest. Gone. I drove, faster than I ever had. But the swamp moved with me. Roads twisted, trees shifted. The rearview mirror started fogging up from the inside. And behind me, I saw lights, headlights. Rule number 3 is broken rule number 3. If you see headlights behind you, don't pull over. They aren't human, but they were so bright this time, like stadium floodlights. I couldn't see. I swerved just to keep from hitting a tree, and the truck stalled. Again, at 3:33 a.m. I locked the doors. I remembered. I sat still, but this time, the lights didn't stop. They flooded the cabin. White beams pouring in through the windshield like sunlight made of bleach. I shielded my eyes, and then I heard the door unlock itself. Click, click, and a voice. Delivery for Mr. Grant. I turned. Standing in the middle of the road was a UPS driver, but not like any I've seen. He had no face. His skin was stitched leather, his arms were too long, and in his hands, he held a box with my heartbeat coming from inside that I screamed. He placed it on the hood of my truck. Then he whispered, "You're now in default. One debt, one sacrifice. Choose." And he vanished in a blink of static. I opened the box. Inside was a photo of my cousin, but his face was scratched out. The memory exchanged the next morning. I woke up in my bed, like it had all been a nightmare. But I had no idea who I was, not my name, not my age, not where I lived. Nothing. Only one thing remained in my head. You deliver, or you disappear. My UPS uniform was folded neatly on the dresser. New, clean, tagged, and stapled to it was a new manifest for Route 47B. And next to it was the same brown box, still bleeding. Back into the deep that night, I returned to the depot. I don't even remember deciding to. It's like the swamp drives my body now, like I'm just a passenger in my own life. Clem was there, but this time, his mouth was sewn shut. He just nodded. He pointed to the new truck. It wasn't brown anymore. It was black, soaked, mud-caked, like it had been driven out of a grave. I climbed in. I knew the route. It was branded into my brain now. And this time, the rules had changed. Receipt: new rules for Route 47B. Final cycle: you are the package. Now, every delivery is a memory traded. If you forget your name, you belong to the swamp. Never open a box that has your face printed on it. At the final house, ask, "What's my debt?" But don't ask twice. Return before the sunrise, or your shift becomes eternal. Never step out of the truck after your 7th delivery. You're no longer you. Don't look in the mirror. You won't like who's looking back. The final stop, I don't know what delivery it was. I lost count. But the house was a mansion deep in the swamp, lit from the inside like a ballroom, windows fogged. With condensation, I walked up with the package. It was cold, pulsing. Inside the house, dozens of people sat at a long table, wearing UPS uniforms. Some I recognized from the depot. Most had no faces. The head of the table was me. Another me, smiling, wearing a badge that said Tyler Prime. He stood up, raised his glass to the debt paid. Everyone applauded, and behind me, the door slammed shut. There was another me at the head of the table, smiling, wearing my brown UPS uniform, but cleaner. Perfect, like he'd never sweated through a delivery, never broken a rule, never gotten stuck in the muck. He raised a wine glass filled with something thick and dark, looked like oil, smelled like blood, and toasted to my arrival. To the new cycle, he said. To the new Tyler. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. All around the table sat other UPS drivers. Some were missing fingers. Others had gaping holes where their mouths should have been. A few had no eyes at all, just blackened sockets leaking what looked like motor oil. Each one of them nodded at me. Each one wore a name tag, and every tag said Tyler Grant. All of them were me. My knees buckled, and the box slipped from my hands. It hit the floor with a wet thud and cracked open. Inside was my cousin's head, mouth sewn shut, eyes wide open, and clutched between his teeth was another laminated rule sheet, fresh and bloodstained. Receipt: the final rule. There is no escape. When the swamp chooses you, you don't finish your shift. You become part of the route. The only way out is to deliver yourself. If you can't, another version of you will. You understand now? The other Tyler, Tyler Prime, walked toward me slowly, clapping his hands together. We don't drive the truck. We are the cargo. Every night is the same. A new us. A new attempt. Some last longer. Some remember more. But eventually, the swamp eats the name, eats the memories, leaves only the uniform. He gestured around at the table. These are your failures. Your past tries. All the times you ran, hid, refused the final delivery. But you always come back. The swamp rewinds. Rewinds until you give yourself up willingly. I ran again. Of course I did. I grabbed the mirror from the box. The old, cursed one with the Latin etched on the back. Nolli Respicere. Nolli Credere. Don't look. Don't believe that I ran out of the mansion into the swampy dark. The house moaned behind me like it was alive, like it knew it lost me. For now, the trees moved. Not swayed, moved. Like they bent themselves to block my path. Every direction I turned, more cypress trunks appeared in front of me. The swamp was folding in on itself. I finally found the truck again, sitting idle in the dark, headlights already on. Engine purring, like it had never left. Like it had been waiting for me. I jumped in, slammed the door, drove. Fast, and then the GPS lit up. Final delivery, 000, Tyler Lane, ETA, 3:33 a.m. The road that shouldn't exist. I followed the path. It wasn't on any map, but the road appeared anyway, straight and narrow, like a vein sliced through the swamp. The further I drove, the stranger things got. Time began to crack. I'd see a baby version of myself, standing in the marsh, holding a UPS scanner, then a teenage version, bloody, wide-eyed, running barefoot through the cypress trees, screaming. And then I saw Clem, but not the Clem I knew. This one was young, maybe early 20s. Clean cut, confused, holding a rule sheet and shaking hands, just like I had that first night. You figure it out yet? Clem's voice came from the radio, though my hand hadn't touched the dial. Ain't no quitting this job, kid. We're all just copies of the one who didn't deliver. The delivery to myself at the end of the road sat a cabin, not a creepy mansion, not a rotting shack, just a perfect copy of the trailer I had left back home. Same paint, same truck parked beside it, same wind chime outside that used to rattle during thunderstorms. I checked the package on the passenger seat. My name, my face printed on the label. I remembered rule number 4 from the updated sheet. Never open a box with your own face printed on it. But what if this was the final delivery? What if this was my only way out? I stepped out of the truck, package in hand, walked to the door, knocked, and it opened by me. A version of myself in pajamas, rubbing sleep from my eyes. What the hell? He mumbled. I handed him the package. He looked at it, looked at me, then asked, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm the one who has to deliver this, or neither of us leaves." He stared at me, then slowly nodded, took the package, and the second it left my hands, the swamp screamed. The cycle. Brakes. Almost. I woke up in my cousin's trailer again. This time, it was full. He was there, alive, cooking breakfast. "You sleep through your alarm again?" he asked, laughing. I rushed to the mirror, looked at my face. It was mine, not melting, not stitched, just me. I checked the time. 6:03 a.m. sun rising. Birds chirping. Normal. It was over. Or so I thought. But then, the knock. 3 soft knocks at the front door. I froze. Outside, sitting on the porch, was a UPS box. No label, just a sticky note on top, written in red. Last delivery failed. Return to Route 47B. Midnight. Don't be late. And on the back of the note, a fingerprint. Mine. Closing manifest. I burned the uniform that night. Tried to leave town. That didn't matter. Every road led back to the swamp. Every sunrise felt less real. Every mirror now shows 2 of me. Because when you deliver for Route 47B, you don't quit. You don't retire. You don't escape. You either finish the route or become the next package. They say that when you die in the swamp, the cypress trees grow a little taller. That every branch bends to echo your last scream. that your soul doesn't sink. It waits. That I used to laugh at legends. I used to scoff at whispers. I was a UPS delivery driver. I delivered boxes. That's it. But out here, in Route 47B, we don't deliver boxes, that we deliver fate. It starts again. I burned the uniform. I tossed the mirror into the river. I buried the manifest under 6 feet of concrete. Didn't matter. At 11:59 p.m., I woke up in the driver's seat. The keys were already in the ignition. The manifest was fresh. And on the seat beside me was a still bleeding package. Marked, to Tyler Grant from Route 47B. I screamed. Slammed my head against the window. Tried to open the door. Locked. I wasn't driving the truck anymore. It was driving me. The familiar path, the same twisted roads. The trees bent over like they were whispering secrets to each other. The houses, crooked and breathing, each one blinking like living eyes. I knew the first stop, the Screamer Shack. But now it was burning. Orange flames rising silently into the moonless sky, casting shadows of figures writhing inside. I tried to drive past. The truck stopped itself. The lights dimmed. The engine hissed. And from behind the flames, she walked out. Eloise Marin, in no mouth. No face. Just skin stretched like latex. She held a package addressed to me. She pressed it against the windshield until I could hear my own voice echoing from inside the box, pleading, I don't want to go back. Then she vanished. And the engine roared to life again. Voices in the trees, they whisper now. Not just once a night. All the time. Every branch. Every leaf. They whisper my name. But now it's not Tyler. They call me something else. Courier. Runner. Lost boy. The one who forgot. Every stop I make, I forget a little more. Where I came from. What I looked like. What my mother's voice sounded like. Instead, I remember rules. Thousands of them. Burned into the back of my skull like brands. The room of mirrors. One night, I delivered to a house that wasn't there the night before, at a marble mansion standing atop the water like it floated on blood. Inside were only mirrors. Hundreds. Stacked floor to ceiling. Every one reflected a different version of me. One had no eyes. One had no arms. One wore a crown made of barcodes. One bled from the mouth while smiling wide. I screamed. One of them screamed back, and the mirror cracked. I felt something inside me crack with it. The box I was holding? It broke open, and inside was my own still beating heart. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally, pulsing alone, beeping like it was waiting to be delivered. The false escape. One night, I didn't follow the route. I turned the wheel hard and drove through the trees, crashing through cypress and thorns. The truck screamed. Metal groaned. Bark exploded into the night. And then, the woods ended. I drove out onto a city street. Real lights. Real people. I stumbled. Out. Bleeding, laughing, crying. I dropped to my knees. I had escaped. I had escaped. But no one looked at me. Not a single person. I stood up. Screamed. Begged. I looked into a storefront mirror. And there was no reflection. Just a UPS truck in the background. No driver. And a blood-soaked uniform. Folded neatly on the sidewalk beside me. The truth about Clem weeks? Months? I don't know anymore. Time's a rumor here. But eventually, I made it back to the depot. Or something pretending to be it. And there he was, Clem. Except now he had roots growing from his back. His legs fused into a tree trunk. His UPS cap had become bark. He looked at me with eyes full of sorrow. You weren't supposed to last this long. I asked him how long he had been here. He laughed, and a branch grew from his chest. There's always been a Clem. Maybe I'm version 20. Maybe I'm the first. Doesn't matter. Once you deliver long enough, the swamp plants you hear. You become the next voice, the next whisper, the next rule maker. And then he handed me a clipboard. A blank manifest. It's your turn now. Write the next rules. The final rule. So here I sit, in a cabin made of rot and memory, etching down the truths I wish someone had told me before I signed that first form. Here's the last rule. The one they won't print. The one no manifest ever includes. If you're reading this, you're already on the route. The moment you hear the story, the moment the rules are spoken aloud, the route finds you, sticks to your spine like moss, follows you through time, space, logic. It waits that you'll see the brown box soon. Left on your doorstep. No label. Maybe tonight. Maybe in a week. Maybe when you're old and tired and think you've outlived horror. But it'll be there. And the first time you break a rule, you'll hear a voice from behind you whisper, "Package received." Route begins now. Tyler's last delivery. I don't know how many of me there are left, that I've seen hundreds. Some still human, some not. Some have become trees. Some became the routes themselves, stretching endlessly into the dark, paved with regrets and red ink. But I keep driving that I've stopped trying to finish the route. I just try to remember my name. Tyler. Tyler Grant. Age. I don't know anymore. I was a UPS driver once. Now, I'm just another ghost in brown. For the one reading this, burn this story. Block this video. Forget these rules, because if you don't, you'll see the box tomorrow. It'll be there, waiting, bleeding just a little at the edges. And when you try to leave your house, every road will lead to Route 47B. Every door you open will creak the same, and every knock at night will be for you.